Hey team, Ange here with Equenti Leadership and Learning. How are you doing? I'm coming to talk to you about one of the topics that is closest to my heart and to the hearts of at least 7 colleagues, clients, friends, and people who I really love at the moment, who are experiencing some manifestation of burnout. Now, it's a real thing. It's not just a dressed up word for feeling a bit tired or sad or depressed. It's different. And the World Health Organization defines burnout as a feeling of exhaustion to depletion, really. Like you can't be productive even if you want to be, and that you've just run out of care and concern for your job. Now, this is not who we are as people, but when you're in the burned out state, will be how it will be feeling, and it's frightening. So I just want to bust some myths that people often wrestle with as they're approaching the early stages of burnout, or perhaps you're already in it and you're still operating under these myths. And the first one is that it's everything that's going on in my job or with my boss or with my team, my organization, or even in the market. It's circumstances external to me that need to change because I'm suffering. And I get why you would think like that, and I did as well. The first hard message is that those external circumstances will always be in a state of flux. There'll always be stress and pressure in an organizational environment. We'll always be looking to our senior leaders for strategic clarity and clarity on priorities, and guess what? They're struggling with it as well. So expect those external circumstances to always be challenging, and the insight here, the epiphany that you need is, if that's going to be the case, all that's left is for me to step up and take personal responsibility for how I'm approaching my job, how I'm thinking, how I'm communicating, how I'm behaving, the boundaries I set for myself, the way I'm showing up in this situation. And so that's the first myth, is that it's not really the external circumstances that needs to change, it's what's going on in here, and the way I approach my work that really needs to change. Another myth that I see my clients talk to me about in the early days is that it's just short-term tiredness, and that a long weekend or perhaps a week or two on holiday will correct this. All that will do is recharge you to come back to work and run the same old patterns that you've been running that led you to this burned out state to begin with. So it's not really a case of just getting some extra sleep or taking a few days or a week off, although that will help. It's the patterns of thinking that led you to this way of working, that led you to this level of depletion, that we really need to address. So that's the second myth. It's just short-term tiredness. No, it's not. It's our patterns of thinking that need to be changed. The third myth is that it will go back to normal. If I can just get through this period, if I can just get some rest, if I can just get to the bottom of my inbox, if I can just get through this particular challenging situation, then I'll be able to breathe a sigh of relief, and then it will go back to normal. Guess what? In the timeline of life and work, we are never going backwards. We are always going forward. We're always moving into the new future, which is now. Okay, so the idea that after burnout that you can revert to conditions that were formerly more supportive and that they will appear in your future again, I feel is like a little, it is not a healthy way to think about it. And equally, what you learn through the experience of burnout about your limits, about your capacity, about your preferences for the way you work, for who you work with, for the work that you do, what you learn about your thinking that has led you to show up in a way that causes you to burn out and not be working in a sustainable fashion. You don't want that to go back to normal. You don't want those patterns to repeat. So that's the third myth, is that it will go back to normal. The fourth one that is often unspoken, but I want to put it on the table, and that is the myth that burnout is the absolute worst thing that can happen. And by the way, when you're in it, it feels like that. To lose control of your capacity, your mental clarity, to feel so fatigued, and to be despairing really about what's happening for you in the world of work, and that you just can't get on top of it. and having your cup be so full that it only takes a minor challenge or setback to be overflowing. It feels scary, and I get that. However, I really want to challenge in this myth that burnout is the worst thing that can happen. I really want to challenge this concept of resilience that is being taught all over organizations right now. I never want to be more resilient to endure circumstances that are toxic, that are harmful to me, or to endure ways of working that I am bringing into my professional life that aren't sustainable. In fact, having experienced burnout and come through the other side, I'm all for the crumbling. I say that to my clients fairly regularly. Crumble if you need to. Fall into that hole if you need to, because what will happen on the other side of that is the creation of new patterns. Okay, without that crumbling, with just the resilience to endure the current state, you're never going to be able to be in a situation to create new patterns. And so I do want to bust the myth that burnout is the worst thing that can happen to you. In fact, I will say it's probably one of the better things, I can say this now, that's happened to me in my career, because my way of working is so free, liberated, creative, inspired, driven by connection to myself and my energy and what inspires me. Rather than feeling driven by my perception of the expectations of my clients and stakeholders and people I work with, and rather than, feeling like work is doing me, now I choose the way I do work. And then the fifth myth that I want to bust for you guys is that I just need to work harder and I'll get through it. Anything that sounds like I just need to man up, woman up, push through this, just get to the bottom of my inbox, just get to the bottom of this paperwork, just get through this week, just get through this quarter, just get to this financial, year deadline, whatever the situation is. And I need to push, drive, strive, and just grit my teeth and get through it. Man, doesn't that feel bad to you as I'm describing it? It is energetically depleting. It is not supportive and nourishing. And sometimes what we're most needing is the thing that we're not brave enough to ask for, and that is support, gentleness, kindness, nurturing, loving, caring approaches and energy when we're suffering. And so the idea that I just need to work harder and get through it is the fifth myth I need to bust for you guys. If you're in this space right now of burnout, you need to be gentle and kind to yourself. So I'm going to make a video series about this, and we'll have a link so that you can join in and follow along. This is just the beginning. They're the 5 myths I wanted to bust around burnout for you. And what I'll be talking about in this video series, I'm just mapping it out and putting it together for you right now, referring to my notes. We're going to talk about the stress and pressure that we tend to feel on the way into burnout, and then what the early signs are. Now, if you're already experiencing the early signs of burnout, it can go one of 2 ways. You can actually push harder and descend into burnout, which, like I say, isn't the worst thing in the world, although it will feel that way. Or you can alert yourself, become aware of these early signs of burnout and take a different course. And if you're already thinking you need to do that, then just reach out to me and have a conversation with you and help you get on the right track. We're going to be talking about what burnout is, what to do when you're there, how to recover, how to set new patterns of work, and how to have that be sustainable for you. Now, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a psychologist, and they are perhaps 2 of the people that you might want to engage if you are finding yourself in this burnout moment. I'm a leadership coach. I know what is happening for leaders at work when they are, and in their personal lives quite frequently, when they're having this experience of burnout, and I'm here to help you with the mindsets and the practical coping strategies that will see you emerge from this period and still be able to be proud of yourself as a professional, still be able to lead a team, still be able to reach for important goals in your life, and navigate this period in the way that is healthiest and most constructive for you. So this is the beginning of the Burnout video series. I'd come up with a more creative name if I could. Anyway, here we are. Can't wait to talk to you again in the next video. Bye bye.